And today, in the series of great books, we have Chronology of the World by Isaac Asimov. We are doing this series. Now we are in this chapter 6000 to 5000 BC. 6000 to 5000 BC. We have covered till here in the earlier videos. You can see the earlier videos, and this is 6000 to 5000 BC. We might have two videos on this. Let's start. In the course of this period, a new group of people, the Sumerians, began to enter the Tigris Euphrates Valley. Civilization had existed there for some 300 years, 3000 years by this time. It had already existed there. But the Sumerians picked up the ball and earned it and carried it much farther. They were the first to develop what we might refer to as high civilization, HIGH in italics, high civilization. What they, where they came from, we don't know. Their language is not related to any other, so that we can't trace relationships. We can only be grateful to them. For instance, they found the beginnings of agriculture along the river bank and took it over, and by 5000 BC had established working city states along the lower course of the Euphrates River, beginning to make full use of irrigation. The southeasternmost portion of the valley is usually referred to as the Sumeria. At this time, the Bible calls it Shinar. To make sure that the cities were properly organized and their complexity is working efficiently, the rulers of the Sumerian city states had to gain unquestioned authority. The logical way to associate the ruler with the logical way was to associate the ruler with the divine. The logical way was to associate the ruler with the divine. He became a priest king. He became a priest king, capable of interceding with the gods on behalf of the people. So that was a belief system he's pointing out. In order to make sure that all the affairs of the state, of the city, would remain prosperous. A priestly hierarchy was established. You can make your own moral judgment of this, but he's presenting the facts. A priestly hierarchy was established to serve as the bureaucracy of the city state. It's almost like today. Temples were built as homes for the gods and priests, as repositories for government records, storehouses for grain, and so on. Religion had become institutionalized and made to support the state. This is a turning point. See, it's coming. Which has been its usual function ever since. So, this one paragraph, in essence, is the whole history. I read it. I'll read it again. A priestly hierarchy was established to serve as the bureaucracy. How interesting it is. Bureaucracy of the city state. Temples were built as homes for the gods and priests, as repositories for government records, storehouses for grain, and so on. How well he is written. Religion had become institutionalized and made to support the state, which has been its usual function since then. The same advances in river agriculture and associated religious institutions were now in full swing. The same advances in river agriculture and associated religious institutions were now in full swing along the Nile River too. These were advances in other there were advances in other parts of the world as well. In the Andean region of the northwestern South America, the llama and alpaca, small American relatives of the camel of Asia and Africa, were domesticated. In Mexico, cotton and avocados were grown. Dates were grown in South Asia. And in the steppes north of the Black Sea, the horse was domesticated. Along the Euphrates, too, people learned how to make use of the wind to power ships. Amazing, no? By hoisting sails, you know, no? which catches wind, which controls the wind. Wind was trapped against a large area, and this tended to drive ships forward when there was no current. When there was no current, also, it used to catch the wind and drive the ship, or even against a current. It used to go even against a current. And that was a development from 6000 to 5000 BC, essentialized in this chapter. Only one video here. And the next chapter will be 5000 to 4000 BC. Thank you.